Hey guys, Engine Doc back with you again. Got another engine to look at here. We've got a little Fairbanks Morse 3-horse Z Type C self-oiling. Now I did one of these before. There's some video. If you look back in my older videos, you'll find that I did another one of these. I had a guy call me and ask me if I could get one running for him, and this is what he brought me. So he said he didn't have time to get it running, and wants to make it run again so he can play with it. So we're going to do that. We're going to see if we can get this one going. This is a 1929. I ran the number on it here, and here's the tag on it. And if you want to stick around and watch, see what it takes to get something like this running, hang on and we'll get started on it. So we'll just do a quick overview of it here. Somebody put this muffler on. It's bent. You know, we don't care too much about that. We'll just we'll use it like it is. If he wants to do something different with it, we'll discuss that at a later time. But we'll take a look at it here. It does have pretty stale fuel in it. Fuel smells terrible, and I think probably one of the first things I'll have to do is clean the tank, because boy, it's got some nastiness in there. Man, it stinks like crazy. So we'll end up pulling the carb off, pulling the tank out, and start there. Check ball, check valve, start with the fuel system, go from there. And we'll walk around here on the off side. It's got a gear on it here. We don't know what it used to run, but he asked me if I could pull this gear off, and we'll attempt to get that off of there. And another thing I noticed, you've got a cracked magneto cover there. Don't know if I'll replace or repair that yet. He said it has been sitting outside, so I suspect there's probably water in there. Also, this muffler's been pointing toward the sky, and I suspect water in there. I got you set up here, listen in here to the exhaust when I roll this thing over. Do you hear that? It's got an exhaust valve leaking. So that's kind of the overview of the little Z Style C, and we'll get into it and start taking some things apart and taking a closer look at it. So I may have to go into the cylinder head here. He did bring me another gasket, so here's yet another gasket. Looks like that's a homemade gasket, so we'll have to go in here, and if I can't pop this, you know, I'll kind of pop on it there and see if I can get it to seal. If I can't, we'll have to get the head off of it. Okay, the first thing we got to do to get the tank out of this thing is to get the needle valve assembly out, and it's held in with this clamp. So all we do is come in here and take this screw out and take this clamp off, and then this should work loose. Let's see, I gotta get the cap loose under here. I think it's already loose there. Yeah, there it is. Now this will pull out of there. Now typically to pull that out, you got to lift the engine a little bit, and I've got the nuts loose off. So and I'm already set up on the hoist here. So we'll lift that up a little bit and get ready to pull that loose. I just took some gasoline and put in here and rinsed out the worst part of it, and it's actually pretty clean, and the tank has been sealed inside. Let me show you, see if you can see this red coating, and I do believe that is what they call red coat sealer. So The tank's already sealed. I've rinsed it out with some solvent and gasoline, and it's fairly clean. So I think we'll be able to use it. This check valve's a different story. It's pretty nasty, but we'll get her cleaned up here and see if the ball will shake loose in there. We'll get it working, and then back over to the engine here. We'll get that mixer off of there, because it's pretty rusty inside. I just want to pull it off and completely clean it and make sure it's good to go. There's a screw on the back here, and one on the front there. I've got those loose. Get those off of there. The mixer. This little door here is stiff. Take a look in there. It's Rust City. So I think I'll just take that over the blaster, sandblast that in there, and clean it all up. Should be good to go. Here's the front of the engine. This is the throttle valve, and so that looks pretty good in there. I'll make a new gasket for that. Probably won't take that off the head just quite yet. Sometimes if you've got a leaky exhaust valve like we do, you can kind of cheat the system if it's not rusted very badly and pitted. Maybe there's just a chunk of carbon under it, or maybe some slight rust. You can pull the spark plug out, put a little air pressure in there, and then just take a plastic hammer and pop that with air pressure in there, and that will sometimes help the valve to seal. And once you start running the engine a little bit, it'll eventually wear in and seal again. If we can't get that to seal up, I'll have to pull the head off. Okay, I got a plug in here, a reducer from a 1/2-inch pipe thread, which is what the spark plug is, down to 1/4, and then I've got my air fitting on there. I'm going to plug the air on here. Now, I will tell you, I've already done this. I'll show you how I did it. Plug the air on, put 20 pounds of pressure in, and then take a hammer. Popped on that, and that sealed right up. That sealed right up on the muffler. So I've got some air leaks, but not out of there, and I can't determine anything in there, but it is leaking past the rings and coming out the crankcase breather here. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. Those rings always leak a little bit anyway, so we'll get back on it here and get on to the mag next. Well, did a little blasting. Looks a lot better in there. Got rid of all that rust. And trying to get this needle freed up. It goes into this piece of brass here, of course, and it's stuck pretty good. So I've got some coil in there. Gonna see what it'll do for me. If not, I'll put a little heat on it. But got the compensator valve cleaned. It's all ready to go. Got some gaskets made. So we'll get her going here soon, hopefully. That surface clean. Doesn't look clean, but it is. Start working on the valve next. See if I can get it to seal a little better. Well, I've had some good luck here. This coil, I put it on this frozen hinge here, and little door. Boy, it just worked like a champ. And also this needle, I put it on there, and now it's easy, free. I've had it out and run a torch tip cleaner through through that. I'll show you how to do that on this one. This I cleaned in the ultrasonic cleaner. So I've got that broken loose with a wrench. Let's pull this off and see if the ball's in there. It's wet in there. Yep, there it is. There's the ball. And I think it's stuck in there, but I'm not sure. No, it's loose. So I can get it out of there. I don't want to poke a hole in this screen. Well, that screen's already got a hole in it. So I'll just reach through there and poke the ball out. There it is. Yeah, that little screen's, well, the little screen's rotten. Wow, it just kind of disintegrated. There it is. So I'll leave it out. Clean that real good. Now this ultrasonic cleaner, it does a good job. I put real strong alkaline soap in it, and it does a pretty good job of knocking off the, well, this was just had the old gummy gasoline. I mean, I still smell it. It's gummy as heck. And of course that's still wet. But let me get a torch tip cleaner. We'll see if that's loose. This is my old antique set of torch tip cleaners here. I probably got it in an auction somewhere along the line. Let me get the smallest one out here. Stick it through there. See, it should be fine. And it is. So I just want to make sure. Now this other one, it was plug full. It was tight. I had to really push hard to get the torch tip cleaner through there. But these torch tip cleaners are handy for this kind of work. So now I'll just get some spray carb cleaner and clean this out. Clean out this tube. There's some gunk still left in there. Some solid gasoline. So I'll get that cleaned out and blown out with compressed air. We'll be ready to put it back together. I just usually do this into a rag. That way the rag absorbs everything. Get the little ball cleaned off here. It's coming clean. Blow through here. And I will blow compressed air through there off camera, because I hate it when guys do that on the camera. Well, it's nice and clean now. Looks pretty decent. So that ball sits in there like that. And this screws in here. Now I do see a little piece of dirt in there. Let me get that. That's actually a piece of copper from that tube, maybe? Yeah. Let me blow that out. There we go, that's better. The reason I don't like to blow compressed air on a YouTube, because there's a guy I watch, he's a machinist, and he uses oh, there went my ball. Got my ball. Gotta be careful. Sorry about that. He uses compressed air every time he makes a cut, and if you're not watching and hit the volume, turn the volume down, the sound of that compressed air just rings out of my TV, and I don't care for that. While I'm on the subject, while I'm ranting a little bit here, the other thing I don't care for is music on YouTube videos. If I want to listen to music, I'll turn the radio on. I don't want it interfering with my learning, trying to hear what the man's got to say. A lot of these guys play music in the background, and that's fine if you like music, but you know, I'd rather hear the verbal content. So anyway, I'll get this back together. I'll just do it now. Stick that ball in there before I lose it again. Stick it in there, and I hear it, so I'll go get a couple wrenches and tighten that up, and this will be ready to reinstall. Here we go. Alright, that unit is ready. Looks like the old cap here is rusted through in a few places, but we're going to use it. I want to make sure this engine's going to run okay, and then if he wants to replace little parts on it as he goes along, well, he can. He just basically wants me to get it running for him, so he can kind of take it from there. So that's what we're doing. And I'll tell you something else I do. I either put a little sealer on this back side here where it goes in here. Probably not necessary, but I put a little bit of sealer on there just so that doesn't leak air. Might as well head off any problems at the pass while you've got it apart, right? So that's what I do there. Sometimes I cut a little gasket. I've used an O-ring. This time I think I'll just put a little drop of sealer on, like some RTV. And, whoops, I forgot the spring. Let's put him on there. Put spring on there. That keeps tension on the needle and keeps it from turning while the engine's running. Gotta have that. And initial settings on these, on this one, is in till it stops and out a half a turn. That's usually enough. So we'll get it put back on there. And on the compensator, the only thing you really have to worry about on your gasket, this gasket, the original type gasket's pretty thin. To keep that gasket from breaking while you're making it, I always make this part just a little bit thicker, and there's plenty of room for the valve to work on there, so we'll stick him on there. What that does is makes a little more vacuum in this chamber, and it causes it to draw fuel better. This early fuel mixture technology was kind of crude. Didn't work real well, but works pretty decent, really, especially on these Fairbanks. And you get that to where you can make sure that moves nice. Good to go there. You know, I mentioned earlier the little filter screen that was in this check ball. I took this back apart. We're looking at it again here. Got to thinking about it. You know, and I still got probably some junk in that tank. It's fairly clean, but why take a chance? I'm going to make another screen. This is what's left of the old screen there, and it goes in here. And how they did this was they cut this and folded over these little pieces here to hold that screen in. Well, I'm trying to pry those back up again, and of course they're all breaking off. So let me show you how we're going to fix this. So I've got it in the vise here, and I'm just going in here with a little screwdriver, and those little pieces are just breaking off. When I go straighten them back up, that brass is hard, and it's good for one bend, and that's it. Now I could probably heat this up and anneal that brass and make it soft again where I can actually work it some more, but it's not worth messing with. So I'm just going to break all those things off like that. And let's see, I want to straighten that up in there a little bit. So let me get a punch and a hammer, and I'll just bend those back the rest of the way like that. Don't know if you can You may not be able to see that, but trying to bend over the tabs and get them out of the way, or as the kids say nowadays, out the way. So then I went and got my gasket punch, and I set that up for the right size and got me a little piece of screen here. And you can get this stuff at the hardware store or wherever, you know, Screens Be Us or wherever you buy the stuff at in your area. And I cut me a little screen here, if I can get a hold of it. It's a tiny booger. There it is. Lay it right there so you can see it. We're going to stick that in there. And let me get a little screwdriver here, and we'll work that screen down in there like that. Now, how are we going to hold that in there? Well, there we go. Actually, it's going under those little, what's left of those little tabs, and it may stay, but with the gasoline sloshing around over it and everything, I'm not going to trust it. I'll show you what we got here so far, and see if this thing will focus on it. There's our new screen in there. So, stick that back in place here. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some spring wire and make a little wire retainer to go in there and hold that in. So I went to my spring collection, and let me back you out here. I got a spring collection box here. Found a little spring, and I'm going to cut a piece of that and form it so it'll go in there. There we go. Got that. And I may have to take some pliers and form it a little bit. It's too big around right now to go in there, so let me cut a little bit more of it off. Watch where these pieces fly to. You don't want to let them hit you in the face. That looks pretty good. Let me get that positioned around here. Now this way, doing it this way, a guy can take the screen out and clean it or replace it if he wants to without doing anything destructive. Let me get some pliers and form this thing a little more. There we go. See if that'll go now. I believe it will. May have it just a little long yet. Little long yet. Let me try to form it a little bit more with the pliers here. This is where it slips out of the pliers and goes flying across the shop, and you go cut a new one, because you're not about to find this one. And you pinch your fingers and all that stuff. It's all part of the fun of old engines. There we go. Looks like a belly button ring for an old engine right there. Uh-oh, there it went. I looked down on the concrete floor and it was laying right there. I got lucky. Alright. It's in there. Show you what that looks like. There's our fix. Held in with a ring and serviceable when needed. So now I can drop the ball in. Really drop the ball on this job. And put this back together. Tighten it back up again. I'll just use wrenches. Now we're good. Good clean check ball assembly with filter. Okay, I stated earlier that he wanted this gear taken off, so I've got to looking. It looks like what we've got here, that's the key. This ring right here looks like a sleeve. This is the actual original shaft diameter. This is a sleeve, and then this is the gear. So they've made this key on here. It's got another piece of something or another driven in right there, and then this keyway is wide, this wide. So they've driven that key in. So what I did, I put a punch on there and was able to move it in. I can drive it in a little ways. Then I can get around here to the back side of it. See if I can get you in there where you can see that. To the back side, back in here. And there's just enough room in there to put a punch in there, or a chisel. So I put a chisel in there like this, like so, and I can move that key out. So I've moved it back and forth there a few times. I'm going to do that some more. I can actually take a punch move that in like so. Now I can take this chisel back here, wedge it, use it like a wedge. And move that key back out. It's popped back out again, so at least I got that key moving. If I have to, I can weld a little part on the end out here and get enough of it out here that I can start prying on it, or maybe get a slide hammer on it and pull it out. And then the other thing I can do is just go ahead and set the puller up on here and just give it a pull and see if by some chance it'll pull off without taking the key out. If it will, that'd be good. And the other thing that I can do is start punching on a little bit here. Oh yeah, it's moving. Yeah, starting to break the paint. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the paint right here is starting to break, and I can tell it's moving in, so it's moving. Let me get a puller on that. Well, here's the first puller I always grab. This is a OTC. It's a tie rod end puller for automotive use. Used it when I was working, and it always works great. Let's see if it works this time. Yeah, I got you set up there. Let me grab the ratchet here. Put a little pressure on it here. Something's moving. Yeah, it's moving. Yeah. Didn't even have to break out the heavy hardware here. Sometimes I have to put a bearing splitter behind it and do it that way. There it is. Somebody's gone to some effort to make that key. They milled it. There's the sleeve in there. I'm just going to leave that alone and let him have that back just like that. And clean up the shaft a little bit. There's another piece. Whatever it took to make things work, they did it back then. So there we go. Shaft looks pretty decent too. Got lucky there. Alright. Well, there's the fuel system completed. Now we'll get on to the magneto.